Mm. Hey y'all, welcome to the Devon A. Morris Unfiltered call-in show. Have a seat. Let's get ready. You have any questions? Come on, call in. Come on to that Discord channel. Do me a favor, get the unfiltered crew some finger snaps. We're ready to get started here. Mondays, 8 p.m. Every single Monday, we're here. I'm excited about it. Are you? Let's get this show started, y'all. The greatest scrum show on earth. I'll see y'all soon. Enjoy. Hello, everyone. How are you doing? How's it going? Hopefully, you are having an amazing week. I am. I really am. I got classes this morning, but life is good. Life is good. So, hey, as usual, you know how we operate here. Unfortunately, today we were not able to go live on LinkedIn. I have no clue what happened, but everything was set up just fine. And we hit the live and it didn't happen. So I think we're probably going to stop doing LinkedIn because it is the second time it's happened in the past 6 weeks, and everything's set up appropriately, right? So I don't understand, but that's okay. We record everything on YouTube, so we'll be perfectly fine. So close to the studio, not too far away from it. So welcome everybody that's showing up today. Today is going to be an interesting topic. We're talking about splitting, slicing, stories gone bad. Um, we've been doing a whole month of talking about user stories, but we've been talking about refinement is what we've been talking about. And so we will talk about that topic. We'll bring it up a little bit later. Um, but here's the deal. For anyone who is new to the show, haven't been around before, what we classically do is we answer your questions about Scrum, Agile, even entrepreneurship, anything you really want to talk about. My name is Devon Morris. I am, I guess, the proprietor of this show. Um, but I'm here to help us go on this little journey that we're on. So I just consider myself just to be a guide. Um, so the way it works is really simple. If you haven't been around before, all you need to do is drop your questions in the chat, or you're welcome to join the show live. Okay, either one works. That's perfectly fine. We don't really do that until about 20 to 25 minutes after. So 20 to 30 minutes after, that's when we actually open up the actual our live, so then you can actually jump on the interview stage and jump on the stage with me, or answer questions. So you can hold off until we get a little bit later, and so I'll have to scroll through all the comments. So if you're here, give us a shout, say hello in the chat, so we're good to go. Today we will hit that topic of splitting, stories just kind of gone bad, and I'll probably talk about some techniques, at least splitting that I think about. I may be able to show a couple slides if I can, and I'm actually pulling them up as we speak. Because I can do that too. I'll do that too to make sure we're good to go. But there might be a couple of things I have over here that I can utilize to show. But just give a shout out, and we will begin that journey of talking about splitting and slicing in just a moment. So let's see who's here. As usual, Patrick, how you doing, man? How's life treating you, man? Patrick is always amazing, always supportive. Hopefully, you're having an amazing week, Patrick. Man, you know, topic I'm thinking about for next week is interesting. you know, so it might be a good topic. So we gonna talk. Let's see, Evelyn. Happy Monday to you. How you been, Evelyn? Evelyn. What's going on? And then I see one more person is saying hi there. Hey, Addie, how's it going? Hopefully you're doing fine. Hopefully you're doing well. We're doing our part here. We're trying to make things go right. I'm over here double checking on LinkedIn to let everybody know that I'm stuck over here, that they can find us elsewhere. So, just dropping them a real quick message so we're good to go. Um, this is true, Patrick. Every day above ground is an amazing thing. So that's always pluses. That's always a super dope, super good thing. So I want to actually just kind of jump into this topic. Dang, my thing is shaking a little bit. Let me stop pressing. I actually got a whole keyboard down here. So I'm over there shaking you guys like this, and that makes no sense. So first and foremost, if you've never been here before, what would help us out is if you like and subscribe. Um, we're trying to get our numbers up. Our numbers are slowly going up, right? When I last checked, we're over 800. So that's a good place to be over 800. So we got the trickle in happening. And so that's an amazing thing. I feel amazing about that. To have 800 people, my favorite number is eight. But to have 800 people is a great thing. So here's a question I'm going to ask you all. Everybody that's here, you know, what are some of the things that you see that go wrong with user stories, right? Um, what are some of the things, well, forget the user stories overall, because we talked about that last week. What are some of the things that you see go wrong when people are splitting or slicing or dividing stories into smaller pieces? Some anti patterns, if you have seen some things just not go right when you're talking about splitting or slicing stories, do me a favor, drop that in the chat. I'm asking you to drop that in the chat for a reason because I'm curious as to your thoughts about it because I've had a conversation about it today. I've been having a conversation about it with, really for the past month or so about, with people, lots of people, about user stories just not being right, just not being right. It's interesting. I see the shadow in back of me, right? Because I got the light right here. I wonder, let me see. Oh, nah, I don't like that. So I'd rather have me be brighter. So I should shine it higher. I don't have the right lamps in here to do the show that way. But it's all good. We got it all figured out. So if you have some splitting strategies, some patterns that you've seen that's just absolutely wrong, that's anti patterns in general, drop those things in the chat. Okay. Now, I'm going to tell you when I see it go wrong. And we'll talk about some of the things that are associated with it going wrong. And then maybe we can start kind of getting it right. Does that make sense? Getting it right is part of what we want to think about doing, right? And whether it is in the origination of the actual splitting or it's in the result that you see, the question is, what are some of those things that you've seen that's really gone wrong? Okay. Um, Probably the biggest thing that I see um, when things go wrong is literally makes it into a sprint. It is no longer a story. Okay. No longer a story. Okay. And it really happened to be that way because of the split. Okay. Now, let me tell you, you know, when I see it happen, right? Um, I see it happen in classically large organizations that are trying to make this transition to Scrum, Agile, all this kind of stuff, and they really don't know how to really do things appropriately. Now, they may have gone through all kinds of training, but once they get on the ground, they tend to execute in a way where when that story gets to a sprint, it gets down to that sprint, it's not a story anymore. It's not a user story anymore. Okay. It might be some other kind of story, but it's definitely not a user story anymore. Okay. I see one interesting thing here. Patrick says slicing too many pieces sometimes make the story lose its purpose. I agree with that, right? Um, I had this experience, right, Patrick, where there was a team, there was a team that would actually, well, maybe an organization that would actually take every story and split it down to 3 points. Like every story had to be 3 points, right? And that turns into all kinds of mess, right? I've seen it happen multiple times where they split it to a certain size or they're pretending to split it to a certain size. And so they're doing these unnatural splits to the story, right? Slicing it into absolutely too many pieces where it absolutely does lose value. Okay. I see that happen. I don't see it happen as often as the when it is no longer a user story. Probably I see that happen. I see that happen more often. And what I'm really saying to you is, you know how, I mean, the easiest sign of seeing this is when the user story user is now someone who is supposed to be a developer type. I say developer type because understand I'm using Scrum's definition of a developer, anyone that is working on any aspect of building whatever it is that we're trying to build. Okay. And in doing that, you run into a situation where you just can have some problems. Okay. And so to me, a tester, software developer, whoever it is a developer generically. So when you start seeing it get to the team level and it's more about the team than it is about the user, it's lost its purpose, it's lost its real reason for being there. And it's the only thing that product owner or anyone can do is say, I need all of it. I need every single thing. And so that's not the situation that you want to be in. And here's what I classically see happen in that situation. I see that an organization decides to do Scrum, Agile, even scaled Agile framework. It doesn't matter what Agile thing that you pick. Pick any one of them. And what they don't do in conjunction with that is change the structure of the organization to support this new way of working. So they still would have single function teams, for example, like developers. And the moment I hear words like QA, 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 the moment I hear those words, it's already saying to me that there's a sub team. Okay. Now, the thing is that when you haven't, as an organization, when you have these silos that exist and those teams exist within those silos, then they have a problem. They have a huge problem. And that problem is you only have one skill or maybe two skills on that team, which means that the user story completed across the life cycle. So what they have to do is divide it across the life cycle based on what each team can do. Each team doing a separate part of the life cycle. So that means you have several teams actually creating the value. So really the value is only at the epic level and that's it, because they have to have all these teams do it across. So, and then they can do. So for them, it is what they may consider to be vertical slicing. And I see Black Coffee say here, most don't know to vertical slice. I agree. And this is probably more of a horizontal slice that I'm really thinking about. But for them, they feel like it's a vertical slice, right? They can actually get their part of that work done. And then it gets to their done, then they pass it off. And then people are really curious as to why, when people start testing, there's all these defects, and now we're committed to something else in a sprint, and we plan 3 or 4 sprints out, and now we're stuck in a situation where we can't get our work done because all these defects are coming to impact us, right? Impact us again and again. But it goes back to a real simple problem of the organization just said, hey, let's throw in and slam in this whole agile thing without deciding the repercussions or establishing a infrastructure or establishing teams that can actually work as these self-sufficient, self-contained teams, right? And so when you do that, you end up in a situation where they are stuck. They're stuck in a position where now you start seeing more developers going into these refinement meetings, right? And they start going into these refinement meetings, and now the developers and a scrum master are doing more refinement than the product owner's doing, because the product owner only has to give the epic. And then what ends up happening is the teams take it and start splitting it out into really what's task, because what they're each doing is a piece of the work. They're doing a task each based on their work, and that's all they're doing. And then they all try to story point, and you can't relatively compare tasks. So then you just run into all kinds of problems, because you didn't make you didn't think you didn't take an opportunity to think about how you're going to deal with the actual agile coming in and be able to support the agility that needs to happen, because architecture has to support your agility. And you're not going to get any faster by, doing it this way, right? You're really not. You're going to get the idea that you're getting faster. And then what's going to happen is your developers are going to have one big complaint. They're in too many meetings. Why are they getting into too many meetings? Because you have a situation where they are coordination between the teams, right? Because to make all this stuff work across teams, now you got to have coordination happen across all these teams. More coordination you have, the less time you have to deliver stuff. The more meetings you have, the less time you have to deliver stuff. And you can't help but to have these things because you're stuck in a situation anything about. And so now everybody on the ground is frustrated. And then management is going to get frustrated as well, because delivery is not happening consistently. A lot of spillovers, a lot of things floating into the next sprint is happening again and again and again. Defects are rising. These defects keep impacting the current sprint. It just becomes a snowball. And what ends up happening is that you end up with a lot of technical debt. You end up with a lot of technical debt. And that technical debt is going to have some impact on you sooner or later. Sooner or later, it's going to have an impact. What's that impact? I have no clue, but it's going to have an impact on you sooner or later, right? So you want to think about, if I want to deliver something of value, how am I structuring these teams? Even if I don't change the way all the infrastructure happens in here, here's the deal. When there's an emergency in a building, I guarantee you, you put together the right team to go across all of those different silos to get something out the door immediately. I guarantee you, in every single organization, that actually happens. I guarantee you, because I see it time and time again. But it only happens in an emergency. Otherwise, we got to do all this other stuff to kind of make it happen. That's not the way it should work. That's not the way it should work. And most of you all probably seen what I'm talking about. And if you haven't seen it, you might be experiencing exactly what I'm talking about here. So you all know we got to vertically slice to some degree. We talked about that before. But let me know in the chat. Have you seen that happen before? Because it really is. This is where I see it goes wrong for a lot of large organizations. I'm talking about the big organizations, right? That have this established structure. Have you seen this happen before? Because it's probably what I see happen more than anything, and it's really hard because nobody really knows how to fix it. However, the process is showing you this is the problem. This is the problem. It's these silos that's the problem. Everybody in the building knows the silos, but we're not doing anything to fix it. So I told myself I was going to go ahead and show you a couple ways to think about this, right? So I'm going to grab something real quick, and I'm going to talk about splitting, and at least a little bit about vertical slicing, and make sure we're good to go. So I'm going to show you a couple slides here just to kind of make it so that I'm not writing. Let me grab that real quick. You see this right here? This is something I have available, that I've done, long time ago. Obviously, a product backlog is going to have a multitude of things in it. Again, technical stories can exist. Nobody's saying anything negative about technical stories. They can actually exist. This is extremely important for you to understand. But a user story is not the same as a technical story. It's just not the same. It's just not the same. And so, since it's not the same, you should make these things different. Understanding that epics and user stories, they're normally from the user perspective. Um, I classically see where this epic gets broken down into what I would call technical stories, not user stories. Okay. And that's an important distinction to actually make. Instead of getting these right here, you're getting more of these. And once these increase in your product backlog, your PO's ability to prioritize actually goes down. That's the real problem. And now the PO can't prioritize, so the PO can only say to you, I need everything. I need everything. And that's really not the way we want things to be, right? That's really not how we want things to be whatsoever. We don't want things to jump off and be that way. And what you said, like coffee, is absolutely true. Silos in most big organizations because of fear of conflict. Yes, people own their own silos, people own their own kingdoms, people have some set of reporting responsibilities that they don't want to let go of. They sit in a certain place in the hierarchy. All these things become factors, and it's mostly a political game. But let's talk a little bit more here, right? Because if I was to look at software development or remodeling a house, right? The idea is that there are things that you go through in each one of these instances to get that stuff done. What a lot of people are doing is they're slicing horizontally. They're slicing like this, like this. They're slicing like this. When what they should be doing is slicing like this. Slicing like this. So realistically, it happens. It just is what it is, right? And so when you start thinking about how you should be slicing, you got organizational units that actually exist. That's where your value chain is. But you think about this for a moment and you say to yourself, vertical slicing looks like it's vertical. It is vertical in theory. But the truth of the matter is, it's not vertical. There's going to be a lot of jagged edges. There's going to be a lot of, we got to do a little bit more here or a little less there in order to get this one little thing out the door. So you're going to always find that to be true. It's not exactly a vertical. There's going to be places where there's more work, places where there's less work. That completely happens. But here's the deal. When I'm thinking about remodeling a kitchen, right, I got as a seasoned homeowner, I want to remodel my kitchen so that I can increase its value. No problem. When you split it, you don't want to think about it in terms of I need to do these steps of demolition, mechanicals, painting walls, update the ducts, flooring. I don't want to think about it that way. This right here is not acceptance criteria. Acceptance criteria is from the perspective of the user. So this is a no go. That's a no go. That's not what we want. The way we need to think about it is we want to split based on value still to the user. Does a kitchen still give them value? Yes. Does a first floor bathroom? Yes. A master? Yes, 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 yes. These things still provide value even for acceptance criteria. So this is how we're looking to actually split, which is really, really important. So now as you get down to it, right, and you say to yourself, hey, here's the deal. When something is too big, how do we go about splitting it? Well, what I typically will do is split in one of three ways. Okay? Split in one of three ways, either based on workflow, user roles, or other concerns. Okay? When I think about things like workflow, I'm thinking about things like what steps exist? What do we do next? What's the happy path scenario versus exception cases? Is there any workflow deviations? This right here are things I can tackle within workflow, and there's many, many more that you can think about. If I decide to split based on the user, then I can start looking at things like segmentation, personas. I got user roles, maybe there's compliance things. Who else needs to split? I can start thinking like that. But then the other way that I can think is based on other concerns, like cross-cutting concerns, like security, maybe some quality, optimizers, even the acceptance criteria, technology, search, filters, parameters, all these different things, or even operations that exist. So I can start splitting based on these things as well. So all this is really, really, really very important when you start thinking about it, right? or you might need to get some feedback and work through how you're going to get some feedback, right? And these are all valid ways to think about how you're going to split. But the statement is clearly this: splitting is an interesting thing because if you split horizontally, like a lot of people do in a lot of organizations, you're going to end up with just basically tasks. You're going to end up where you can't find that 80-20 sweet spot. And if you miss out on that 80-20 sweet spot, that means that all the product owner can say to you is we need everything. So you kind of handcuff yourself in that situation, and that's not what you want to do. You do not want to approach it that way at all. You end up with less flexibility and not more. Okay? So that being said, that's our topic. Um, you know, Again, I'll just repeat it just to make sure we're good. Let me know if you have any questions about anything that I talked about here, right? This is the time I'm opening the floor for any questions that you have. If you're new to the show, like, subscribe, do all those wonderful and great things. It helps us with the algorithm so we'll be good to go, get more people seeing this great content. So let me recap here. The biggest problem that I see in organizations, especially large organizations, and I classically work in Fortune 500 companies, right? What I classically see, or what classically happens, is when they bring in Agile, they don't think about the other things that Agile impacts beyond the process. And so they think, hey, we're going to just change the process, and that's all we're going to change. They don't think about changing how they're going to build things or anything like that. So then, when they still have silos and things like that exist in their organization, it causes the requirements of what I'm calling user stories to be put in a position where you cannot break them down into something that's small enough to be completed in a single sprint because of those silos, right? And that could be a reason. It may not be a reason, but that could be one of the reasons. And I want you to make sure you clearly understand that, because if you run into it, your team might be running into it because of the silo situation and not because they're trying not to do it. They want to do it, but they can't because of all the handoffs that are in place. So it is something to think about. And when you go back and you decide to write, you have an epic and you decide that you want to split that, you want to split it based on things like workflow. You want to split it based on things like the user or like other concerns that exist. Those are three classic ways where you can start that dividing process, okay? But on that note, my question for you all once again, I'm opening up the actual window here, and we can actually have you all join us if you need to. I'm dropping that in the chat so then you can see it. But you are welcome to join us live on the show starting now, or drop your questions in the chat. I think this topic is one where it's a really interesting topic because a lot of teams are spending an exorbitant amount of time in refining in product backlog refinement. No, I did not say product backlog grooming, but in product backlog refinement, they're spending a lot of time, and they're really frustrated with all that additional time that they're spending. And then what ends up happening is they start losing transparency, and once you start losing in transparency, you lose opportunities to inspect and adapt, which are really the pillars of empiricism. So you start to take things away from your advantage that you have in getting feedback sooner. Once you do that and you lose transparency, then your daily scrums are going to get longer because now management's trying to figure out a way to see what's happening. So they find ways to add more process to what you're doing, which means your meeting times and everything else start to go up, which is not the direction that you really want to go in. It's not the place you really want to be. And you really don't want to be there because it takes you more time to get to do the work you love to do. And if it's taking you more time to do the work that you love to do, then it's just the whole problem. The whole problem. And that's really fundamentally what it boils down to. That's really fundamentally it. Okay. And so teams run into this problem all the time. So if you are coaching a team and they're running this problem, don't kill them, man. Don't kill them. Don't kill them because they can't do it because there's all these subdivides. You're going to end up acquiescing to what they're doing anyway. So be careful. You notice you're going to be falling in a trap. Try to work on changing that. Maybe not every team at once, but some teams along the way at strategic points where you can do that. That would be the best thing that you can actually do. Yeah, man. So that is what that is, man. That is exciting topic, his whole splitting thing. It's a problem, it's a problem that we don't talk about enough, but it's one that we run into all the time. I mean, we run into this one all the time. Don't I have my water? I don't have my water. Yeah, we run into that problem all the time. And since you run into the problem all the time, it just is what it is. So nothing crazy, nothing big, nothing small, just I may have to be rude to y'all and go grab my water, seriously. So let me do that. And y'all think of some questions. Let me grab my water real quick and be right back. I know you still can hear me, but my water's just right over here. So I'm grabbing it. Otherwise, my voice is going to go bad on you. And I don't want my voice to go bad because I've been doing a lot of talking over the past, this whole year. It's been a whole lot of talking. My voice has definitely been impacted by all the talking that I've done over time here. But there's been a lot of talking, whole lot of talking. Okay, so we're kind of good. So I'm feeling good about all this stuff. Yeah, let me go out here and double check, see if there's anything that anybody got any questions about. So any questions about the topic, any questions about anything that we need to cover, that you have any questions about, drop them in the chat or come and join me on the show. Come and join me on the show or drop it in the chat. Either one of them, I would love. Um, I feel bad I don't have my LinkedIn people here, but we're probably just gonna have to focus in on one particular area and not focus in on LinkedIn. I'm double checking with yeah, I'm double checking to see if there's anything to actually add to you know, this whole deal here because people on LinkedIn be joining and they be all in us, right? All into making it happen. So that being said, let's double check here. Let's see. Tips to enable great story splitting. You know what? I will say this to you, man. Here's what I typically do. Um, Moving beyond user story writing, um, I have this thing, Patrick, and I'm going to show it to everybody here. Let me just grab it real quick so I can show it to you. But I have this thing, and this is what I typically just give people. I just give it to them. Because if I give it to them, then they have it. They can't really say I didn't ever teach them. And then I show them how to actually split. So one of the big things that I do when I'm really working close with people, I actually show them how to split some stories and show them different ways that they can think about splitting and do that work with them, kind of hand holding them. Because if I hand hold them, I know they'll have a better chance of actually getting it. And so what I end up doing, man, is, and it's coming up, and so I'll show you this when it comes up. I end up, walking people through this. This is a splitting strategies guide that, I created years ago. Gives you the basics of splitting. And then these 12 things that we kind of brought up a little bit ago are listed here. And so this right here is a good guide to put people in a position where they actually can decide or figure out what and how and when to split. But realistically, Patrick, a lot of times I have to hold people's hands and pull the domain knowledge out of them that they have and utilize that as a way of splitting and show them different ways to split. One of the good tips that I have for people is to think about the return on investment that you can actually gain from the actual split. What is a way that you can split that would get you to 80, that can hit the 80-20 sweet spot? What is a way that you can split that can actually minimize the amount of resources that need to be dedicated to doing the actual work and you still can get the majority of the value done? And this is before, the technical guys get in there and give us different ways on how we can, build it that could save time or not save time. So realistically, for me, I really hold people's hands in terms of doing this whole thing because I find it's the most valuable way to actually help people get through it is to hold their hand and walk them through it and show them different ways to think about it. Um, Another thing that I like to use that is not used a whole lot, Jeff Patton created that whole user story maps. And I think having a user story map is a really amazing tool because it gives people the journey, right? And you can actually, when you look at that whole thing, you can kind of see what's missing, decide how you want to change things, see if value is being created across. So I would think of it in that way, Patrick. Let me know if that answers your question. If it don't, spin it to me a little bit different, and I'll answer that too. Um, let's see. I'm against my team story splitting. It's all or nothing. And our productivity at the end of each sprint has increased. Yeah, yeah. Is going, wait a minute, wait. I think what you're saying to me, let me know if I'm incorrect. Like, Coffee, are you really saying to me the team, once they committed to the story, they're actually taking that story after they committed to it and then splitting it? Like toward the end of the sprint, partial story points or earning all the story points. Is that what you're referring to? Earning partial story points or earning all the story points? I'm real curious. So let me know if that's what you're talking about, Black Coffee, because that right there is a slightly different topic, right? If that's what you're talking about, I got a statement on it. But if that's not, then I completely agree with you. I don't want my team to be splitting stories. I don't. What I try to do, and this is another tip that this is after splitting though. Um, yeah. So Black Coffee, we not talking about no story points. Don't you be talking about no story points, right? Story points off the list. I'm not talking about that right now. Okay. When I say story points, okay. So what are you talking about is a lot of times teams will, when they get to the end and there's going to be carryover or spillage or whatever you want to call it, they will say, okay, we have a 13-point story here. I believe that we've done 60% of the work. So let's earn 8 of the 13 and leave 5 there that's going to go to the next sprint. So I agree with you. I do not do splitting of partials, right? You either complete the story 100% or you do not. I find it increases team productivity. However, I will say this to you, there are people who will argue you up and down about splitting partials as being a good practice, right? But I've been debating this for years. I don't even debate it anymore because I don't think that people really gonna change no matter how you debate it. It's been a topic for years, which is crazy because, I always say to people, look, would you pay a plumber if they did 50% of the work? No. You wait till they're done, you know? And so that's a whole rabbit hole, man. But most teams do it because there is a reason behind why they're doing it. And a lot of times it's external to the team, which is what you'll find in a lot of cases. So we have Patrick. Okay, it was a great answer. Thanks, Patrick. I appreciate that. Each split should have value and it will deliver based on the amount of resources it consumes. Yeah, kind of agree with that, right? Finding ways to split that in a way that gets value is that. Well, I made you real big, man. You see that? I was trying to make you smaller, and it made you really big. That is crazy. I'm trying to work this system, so we're gonna see. Oh, look at that! I made that real small. All right. So that being said, then that works. So other questions that people may have. Other questions that people may have. Okay. Come join me on the show. It's interesting because people don't want, the splitting topic. People don't want to talk about it, but they talk about it all the time in the organization. When I say they talk about it all the time, it's just a part of everything that they do. Like they're always splitting, but they don't want to talk about it. Okay. Um, you was very large, man. You was very large. It's very large. I didn't even know how I made you very large, but you were very large. Okay. I didn't know what to do about it. I almost had to shut the whole system down to get you back to being regular size. I was like, this is Ant Man, Giant Man. What's going on here? Good. So yeah, so it just is what it is. It ain't. Nothing crazy about it. It is straight to the point. Um, hey, y'all. Let me ask y'all a question. I got y'all people here. Here's my thought. Okay, you all let me know if this is good or not good. Okay. Let me grab it real quick because I want to get y'all's opinion. Right. Um, the March 24th, March 25th event is going to be. Now, let me know what y'all think. If you think I'm crazy, let me know. It's going to be for coaches, speakers, and consultants that need. Well, let me repeat that. On the 23rd, 24th, and 25th is going to be for coaches, speakers, and consultants that help others achieve their desired outcomes while getting paid to do it. That's what it's going to be for. People that want to make sure that their skill set is bankable. Let me ask you all, speakers and consultants that help others achieve their desired outcomes while getting paid to do it. That's the real question. That's what we're going to be talking about. Do y'all think I'm crazy, or is that not? Is that a bad idea? It could be a bad idea. Let me know. Right? Let me know. Let me know if that's a bad idea. Okay? Just throwing it out there real quick. Right? So let me know. I'll come back and see what y'all say about it. But I just wanted to throw it out there. All right. So then, Addie says here. Let's see. Defects coming to a sprint based on defects coming to the sprint based on priority. Get them fixed. Right? Which means they have to give some value to the customer, else it's not worth the fix, correct? Okay, so Eddie, let me ask you a question. You tell me if I'm wrong. It's the customer have to pay for errors? A reflection of what it costs to get something done? My question is really simple, Addie. Why would you estimate defects? Say you can't, right? You can, but you can have 50 points worth of defects or 50 points worth of value added user stories. There is a difference between those two 50 points, right? So I want you to think about that, right? And be careful, right? Because once again, you're earning story points on the user story. The developers make an error. Now you're earning story points on the defect perfectly, then there would not be a need for the story points on here. So isn't that an inflated number once you add the defects number to that? Mistake of the user. Do it. It's just I probably would be really careful about it, right? Just trying to understand how to treat defects. It is the same overall treatment as a user story. I wouldn't say that. The one problem that you have, Addy, in that is that your definition of done is going to have a huge impact on that, right? Because if your definition of done includes testers, I'm assuming you're doing software development. If your definition done includes testers, those testers find those defects sooner. You're classically not going to write tons of defects. You're classically going to have just a conversation because the team is working together to get it done. But what happens when you throw it over the wall? A slightly different problem. So I'm not telling you what to do, right? But I never recommend people estimate defects that was found interim. I only have the people estimate what I call escaped defects, ones that made it to production, the customer found it, something like that. Those are the only ones that I really estimate. Other than that, it's a no go. It's a no go for me. However, Are there tons of teams that estimate defects? Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a very common practice. So I'm not going to say that you don't do it because it may be you may go through a lot of fighting to change that because teams will fight you wholeheartedly to estimate defects. So I'd be really careful about that if I'm you. I'd be super duper careful about that. Very serious. You should be really careful about that. Okay. Let's see. Patrick likes my thing, so it sounds like something that I should do, right, Patrick? Hopefully that sounds like something I should do. Yeah, hopefully that's the case. If it's not, then I need to go back to the drawing board. But I think I got it. I'm trying to make sure that that event is going to be about people utilizing, turning their skills into something that's bankable. I like. I don't know why. I'm loving the word bankable. Okay. I love that word. Because I remember when I was trying to make sure everything was bankable. And I mean, you can't make everything bankable because you try to get the majority of stuff you do bankable. Yes, try your best to. If not, then it should be just a hobby. Anyway, no, do what you love to do. Do what you love to do, and do what you love to do all the time. So I'll ask one more again as we get close to closing everything out. What questions do you all have? Do you have any questions about anything? I'm double checking. My thing won't let me in, so I'm double checking to make sure we're good, right? So I'm glad you got it. Addie, yeah, just be really careful. Be really careful. Okay. Um, and again, if you try to change it, just know it's going to be a fight. Just make sure that you try to change it with the political nightmare prior to trying to change that. So I go make sure that people are aligned and ready to go with that idea before I change it. That's what I would probably do if I'm you, right? So deal with the politics on that situation first, because there might be a lot of politics behind it. If there's not, then make your moves. Be really careful. Be really careful. Yeah, yeah. I think the idea is pretty dope too. I think the scope is wide enough, and I think we can meet a lot of needs by doing it this way. People turning their skills bankable, because most people in our space, they actually are trying to help other people. They really are. They really love helping other people get to a destination. But they want to get paid to do it. I mean, that's what, I don't know. Like, is there anybody, like, if you are here right now, if you are interested in helping people achieve outcomes and getting paid to do it, give me a thumbs up in the chat. The reason why you're involved in this space. For some of us, it may be a little bit different than that. But for a lot of us that are coaches, scrum masters in particular, we are in this thing because we love doing what we love doing, but we really like to help other people get to that other side, get to that destination. That's what we love to do. That is what makes us really unique. I mean, if there's one thing that makes this community extremely unique, it is we are really trying to help other people get to a destination, even sacrificing ourselves at times to help them get to that destination. And so the problem is that when you are helping people cross a bridge, they don't like to pay you. Like literally, when you are helping people cross a bridge, once they get to the other side of that bridge, it's almost like they forget that you were there to help them along the way. Stuff is bankable. Bankable. Because then you'll end up, well, if you're like me, when you not getting paid what you're worth, then you're not happy. You don't feel good. I mean, again, for knowledge workers, you read Drive by Dan Pink. Once you take money off the table, purpose, autonomy, and mastery, right? Once you take money off the table, but it requires you take money off the table. So if the money has not come off the table, you're probably not happy with it. So be really, so you got to make sure that whatever you're doing is going to be completely bankable. So just so you all know, March 1st or you know, I'm going to open it up so and then people can actually register for the event. Okay. So people can actually register for the event. And I want to make sure that it's Beard Eagle alumni first, right? I'm gonna send it to our list first, and then I'm gonna make sure that it's available to you all next. So I'll make sure it's available for the show, but I don't have everybody's email addresses, not all 800 people, so we'll announce it next week on the show, and show it to make sure everybody's good and have it, and then we'll keep announcing it until the event comes, and then it's a go at that point. So I'm feeling good about us making this happen. So it should be good, right? It should be excellent, right? Yeah, and you eventually create a balance between helping and making a little to keep you helping. Yeah. But here's the deal, Patrick. I want people to be in a position where they're not making a little, so they can keep helping, they're making a lot, so they can help more. They're making a lot, so and then they can be more free with their help. They're making a lot so they can give even more, they can serve even more. For organizations like Red Cross to exist, they have to get money, right? You need money, right? And so for you all to help other people, you have to be bankable yourself. If you're not bankable yourself, you're scratching for your own pay. You won't have time, you won't have the ability to really truly help others. And so realistically, when I think about this, I think that I want you all to be in a position where you are making more money for people. And our community is so unique. Like our community is so unique that there's a lot of us that really want to truly help people. There is quite a few of us that's here just for the money, right? Agree. I don't disagree with that, right? But there are a ton of us here that really truly want to help other people achieve outcomes. Like the heart of this community for a lot of people is we really want to help others get to that other side, right? And not that we need them to give us all these accolades to get to the other side. Some of the best coaches I see, they don't give no accolades about any of the stuff. They don't try to be at the forefront. They just try to help everybody else get across that bridge, right? They get across that bridge. And then when they get to the other side, a lot of us be like, hey, go do your thing, man. No worries. Just pay it forward. Just pay it forward, right? And so I'm used to doing that. I've done that many a times. But then I also want to feed my family. Like most of you all have families. You got people you want to take. There's a reason why you do the work that you do. Scrum is the facilitator of that reason. It really, really is. My reason. I have a list of reasons, and one day I have to give y'all those reasons. But you know, um, I kind of always think of it like this. I come to this world empty-handed. I leave this world empty-handed. The dash in between is my legacy. Like, do you understand? That dash right there in between is my legacy. And I need to do something about that dash. Okay. So it's very, very simple. Nothing really complicated, right? That dash is my legacy. And I plan to leave a great legacy of things that I've done because I want to make sure that I have balance good deeds and bad deeds. Way, way more good deeds. So I want a big imbalance of good deeds, right? That's my big goal. I've done way more good deeds than I've done bad deeds. And it's not based on any religion or anything like that. It's just based on that's what I want to do. So I want to make sure that, okay, I come in this world, I leave this world, that dash, my legacy. But it's going to be based on a preponderance of good deeds. That's really at least that's what I'm shooting for, right? That's what I'm shooting for in life. What are you shooting for in life? What are you shooting for in life? Okay. I got a good idea what I'm shooting for, but I've always been shooting for that. It hasn't changed. So when this agile thing came and it was in front of me, I was just like, wow, I really can help people in this way and still be involved in places where I love to be, like involved in IT, right? I can still be involved in IT and be in a position where things are getting done. I'm helping people in the job. It's just an amazing thing. You just gotta love it, you know. So I'm right? Wow. Okay. And so it just is, and I don't know any other place involved in cutting edge stuff. I really like, and I really like tech, because I'm a past software developer, and I can help people. In tech, right? In the job that I do every day, right? You know, being a trainer just makes that just happen, 100-fold, because I get to touch way more lives. Like in a year, I get to touch so many lives, and I get to inspire so many people. And those people go out there and do a lot of the great deeds that I would love to be able to do more often. And so for me, it's just all these little sprinkles. Lizzie likes to call them agile sprinkles. All these little sprinkles help other people, and they go help people, and we have this big, gigantic effect. And so I really, really, absolutely love it. I couldn't ask for anything better than being able to be involved in this space, right? Where I can have an impact on people on an everyday basis. And I really, really try to do it every single day. You are an inspiration, big guy. Hey, you do good work at this, man. I try my best, man. I try my best. I appreciate it, man. I really, really do. So yeah, it's just yes. Whole So anyway, I zoned out on those statements, right? Because I'm really thinking about, what this means. And for me, it really means that. It really means that. And I didn't realize that in the very beginning. But as I started probably my second gig, I started to realize it then. Um, Especially, I read something in a newspaper, and I just really saw the impact I could have. And yeah, and I've been able to have an impact, right? And it's been able to take me around the world to be able to have that impact. I remember being in India, right? In India, and I train 100 people, and then I, get to the end, and I was, I would give a speech at the end of every single training, and if people in India, trained with me back in the day, they would mention that this was probably very inspiring to them. It was unique with a black guy showing up there. That's the first thing. But the message that I gave them at the end is that Scrum is theirs too. What I did in Scrum was about them. Not at the bottom of it. I'm talking about at the top. So I don't see a lot of people that look like y'all. And I would say that at the end of every single class because it was true. Not from the fact it was just Indians, but you think about women, women. There's no way that the world is this without there being some reasons why it's this way, right? Reasons why it's been forced to be this way, right? And I would tell women and Indians and anybody I train with, look, man, y'all change this future. You can. You can. There's no reason why you can't. And the day that you think you can't is the day that you just might as well just get under the tulips, right? Just get under the tulips. Just give it up, right? Just give it up, because we in this life to keep life moving, keep life going, and make all things after us much better than what it has been before us. So that being said, I think we're pretty solid. I think I've done enough of this talking. So hey, everybody, I appreciate you. This has been a good one. I'm glad that we hit this topic. It's a super exciting topic, one that people don't really like to talk about. Um, but next week, I think I'm going to talk about the number one struggle for bankable coaches, for bankable people in general. So I'm gonna talk about that number one issue probably next week. So we'll see. We'll see. The topic could change based on what you all think. But other than that, everybody, I'm going to say thank you, thank you, thank you. You have a amazing, amazing week. And I will talk to you soon next week. It's always next week, isn't it? All right, y'all. Y'all have a good one. I'll talk to you later. Bye bye. Peace.